Have you ever fallen for someone you absolutely shouldn't have? Someone whose very presence makes your heart race, even though every logical part of your brain is screaming that it's a terrible idea? If you've ever found yourself caught in that exquisite torture, then Emma's story might just break your heart, before putting it back together again. Stay with me until the end for a twist that will leave you breathless, and if this journey touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our storytelling family. The first time I saw him, I hated him. That's what I told myself anyway, as I stood in the gleaming lobby of Blackwood Enterprises, clutching my portfolio with white knuckles. The receptionist had just informed me that Mr. Blackwood himself would be conducting my interview, a last-minute change that sent my carefully rehearsed answers scattering like autumn leaves in a storm. "He doesn't suffer fools," she'd whispered, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against her keyboard. "And he's in a particularly foul mood today." Perfect. Just perfect. I needed this job desperately. 6 months of unemployment had drained my savings, and my landlord's patience was wearing thinner than the soles of my only pair of professional heels. Being a single mother to my 5-year-old daughter Lily meant I couldn't afford to be picky, and the executive assistant position at Blackwood Enterprises offered a salary that could finally give us stability. When the elevator doors opened and Alexander Blackwood stepped out, the entire lobby seemed to hold its breath. Tall and imposing in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my rent, he moved with the confident grace of a man accustomed to commanding rooms. His dark hair was neatly styled, his jaw sharp enough to cut glass, and his eyes, a startling steel blue, were currently fixed on his phone with obvious irritation. "Miss Chen." His voice was deep, clipped, and entirely unwelcoming as he finally looked up at me. "You're 2 minutes early." I appreciate punctuality, but I detest eagerness. "Follow me." No handshake. No smile. Not even the barest pretense of warmth. I hated him already. I had to. Because the alternative, the inexplicable flutter in my stomach when those cold eyes assessed me, was far too dangerous to acknowledge. The interview was brutal. Alexander Blackwood fired questions at me like bullets, barely giving me time to answer before moving to the next. He seemed determined to find fault with everything, my resume, my references, even the way I held my pen. When he asked about my 5-year employment gap, I hesitated. "I became a mother," I said simply. "My daughter is 5 now." Something flickered across his face, so quickly I almost missed it. "And the father?" "Not in the picture." He nodded once, made a note, and continued his interrogation. By the time he dismissed me 45 minutes later, I was convinced I'd never hear from Blackwood Enterprises again. So when the call came the next day offering me the position, I nearly dropped my phone in shock. "Mr. Blackwood was impressed by your resilience," the HR director explained, sounding somewhat surprised herself. "He said you didn't crack under pressure. He wants you to start Monday." That was how I, Emma Chen, single mother and desperate job seeker, became the executive assistant to Alexander Blackwood, Billionaire CEO, and the most infuriating man I'd ever met. The first month was hell. Alexander, who insisted I call him Mr. Blackwood at all times, was exacting to the point of madness. He wanted his coffee at precisely 173 degrees. His schedule managed down to the minute. His emails answered within 5 minutes of receipt, regardless of the hour. He worked 16-hour days and seemed genuinely puzzled when I mentioned needing to leave by 6 to pick up my daughter from after-school care. "Can't her father handle it?" he asked, not looking up from his computer. As I mentioned in my interview, Mr. Blackwood, there is no father in the picture. He frowned then, those steel blue eyes finally meeting mine. "Arrange for a car service. The company will cover it. Your daughter can be picked up and brought to the office when necessary." It wasn't kindness, just efficiency. Still, it was the first compromise he'd offered, and I seized it gratefully. That was the beginning of Lily's occasional appearances at Blackwood Enterprises. My bright, curious daughter who charmed everyone from the security guards to the cleaning staff. Everyone except Alexander Blackwood, who regarded her with the wary distance of a man encountering an alien species. Until the night everything changed. I was working late, again, when my phone rang. Lily's babysitter was calling from the emergency room. My daughter had fallen from a playground structure and broken her arm. I was gathering my things, panic rising in my throat, when Alexander emerged from his office. "What's happened?" he demanded, taking in my pale face and trembling hands. "Lily's in the hospital. I need to go. I'll drive you." It wasn't an offer but a statement of fact. Before I could protest, he was guiding me toward the elevator, his hand steady against the small of my back. The drive to the hospital passed in a blur. Alexander broke several traffic laws, his expensive car purring through the night streets like a predator. In the emergency room, he used his name and influence to get us immediate access to Lily, who was pale and tear-stained but brave. "Mommy," she cried when she saw me, then her eyes widened at the tall figure behind me. "Are you my mom's boss? She says you're scary but important." Alexander's mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but the closest I'd ever seen. "Does she now? And what do you think?" Lily considered him solemnly, her small face serious despite the pain. "I think you look sad more than scary." Something extraordinary happened then. Alexander Blackwood, terror of the corporate world, sat down in a plastic hospital chair beside my daughter and spoke to her gently about her broken arm, about how brave she was, about how the doctors would make it better. When the doctor arrived to set the bone, Lily clutched Alexander's hand instead of mine, and he didn't pull away. Later, as we drove home, Lily asleep in the back seat with her new cast, I finally asked the question that had been burning in my mind. "Why did you help us tonight?" Alexander was silent for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, softer, stripped of its usual sharp edges. "I have a daughter too." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. In 6 weeks of working closely with this man, I'd never once heard him mention a child. "She lives with her mother in Paris," he continued, eyes fixed on the road. "I see her twice a year. She's 7 now." "I didn't know you were married," I said carefully. "Divorced. 3 years ago." His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "My ex-wife claimed I was married to my company. She wasn't wrong." When we reached my modest apartment building, Alexander insisted on carrying Lily inside. He looked incongruous in my small, cluttered living room, this man in his $1,000 suit surrounded by Lily's toys and my second-hand furniture. Yet somehow, watching him gently lay my daughter on her bed, he seemed more human than I'd ever seen him. "Thank you," I said at the door, meaning it more than he could know. He nodded once, then hesitated. "Take tomorrow off." "With pay?" "Mr. Blackwood." "Alexander," he corrected quietly. "After tonight, I think you can call me Alexander." Something shifted between us after that night. Alexander was still demanding, still exacting in his professional expectations, but there were moments, brief, fleeting moments, when the mask slipped and I glimpsed the man beneath. He asked about Lily. He adjusted my hours without my having to ask. Sometimes, I caught him watching me with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. And I told myself I was imagining the warmth that spread through me when he said my name. I pretended not to notice how my heart raced when our fingers brushed as I handed him documents. I denied the dreams that left me breathless and aching in the darkness of my bedroom. He was my boss. A billionaire with a world so far removed from mine we might as well have been from different planets. A man still wounded from his failed marriage, who saw his own child only twice a year. I couldn't fall for him. I wouldn't. But the heart rarely listens to reason. 3 months into my employment, Alexander announced he needed me to accompany him on a business trip to Tokyo. 5 days away from Lily, the longest we'd ever been apart. I almost refused, but the bonus he offered would cover 3 months of rent. Bring her, Alexander said when I explained my hesitation. The company will cover it. She can stay with you in the hotel while we're working. I can't ask you to do that. You didn't ask. I offered. His eyes held mine. My daughter will be joining me for the last 2 days. They might get along. The trip changed everything. During the day, Alexander and I worked with Japanese investors, navigating complex negotiations. At night, we explored Tokyo with Lily, whose wonder at the neon lights and strange foods brought rare smiles to Alexander's face. When his daughter Sophia arrived, a solemn, dark-haired girl with her father's eyes, Lily immediately adopted her as a friend. Watching Alexander with Sophia was a revelation. He was patient, attentive, almost desperate to connect with this child who regarded him with polite distance. It was Lily who bridged the gap between them, pulling Sophia into her games, including Alexander with her endless questions and observations. On our last night in Tokyo, with both girls asleep in the adjoining room of our suite, Alexander and I stood on the balcony overlooking the glittering city. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For bringing Lily. For helping Sophia see me differently." He turned to me, his face softened by the city lights. "For seeing me differently yourself." "How do I see you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Like I could be more than what I've become." His hand found mine in the darkness, his fingers warm against my skin. "Emma." The way he said my name, like a prayer, like a promise, undid me completely. When he leaned down, his lips meeting mine with gentle question, I answered with all the longing I'd been denying for months. That kiss should have been our beginning. Instead, it became our almost ending. Back in New York, reality crashed down upon us. Office rumors spread like wildfire. The board of directors expressed concerns about Alexander's personal involvement with an employee. My colleagues, once friendly, became distant or overly curious. Worst of all was the knowledge that I was jeopardizing everything Alexander had built, and everything I needed to provide for Lily. "This can't happen," I told him in the privacy of his office, 1 week after our return. "You know it can't." The pain in his eyes mirrored my own. "Because I'm your boss. Because you're my boss. Because of the company policies. Because of what people will say." I took a shaky breath. "Because I can't risk losing this job, Alexander. Lily depends on me." He was silent for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Then, I understand. It was unprofessional of me. It won't happen again." The formal coldness of his words cut deeper than any argument could have. In an instant, we were back to where we'd started, employer and employee, separated by professional boundaries and the weight of our different worlds. The following weeks were torture. Alexander retreated behind his CEO persona, all sharp edges and cool efficiency. I performed my duties perfectly, giving him no reason for complaint and no opportunity for personal connection. We orbited each other like distant planets, close but never touching. Until the day I found him standing in his office, staring out at the Manhattan skyline with such naked loneliness that it stopped me in my tracks. "Alexander?" He didn't turn. "Do you know what today is, Emma?" I checked my mental calendar of his appointments. "The quarterly board meeting is at 2. It's Sophia's birthday." His voice was hollow. "She's 8 today. Her mother took her to Disney Paris. I sent gifts. I always send gifts." Without thinking, I crossed the room to stand beside him. "I'm sorry. I told myself I was building all this for her." He gestured at the empire spread below us. "But she doesn't care about Blackwood Enterprises. She wants a father who's present. Who knows her favorite color and what scares her at night." Finally, he looked at me. "The way you are with Lily." "You're trying," I said softly. "I see how much you're trying. It's not enough." His hand found mine, a touch so light I could have imagined it. Nothing in my life feels like enough anymore. Except. The word hung between us, unfinished but understood. Except you. Except us. We can't, I whispered, even as I leaned toward him. I know. His forehead rested against mine, our breath mingling. Tell me to stop, Emma. Tell me to let you go. I should have. For both our sakes, I should have walked away. Instead, I closed the final distance between us, my lips finding his in a kiss that felt like coming home. What followed was a careful dance of secrecy and stolen moments. Professional distance in the office, breathless intimacy in private. Alexander rented an apartment where we could be together away from prying eyes. He met Lily as Mommy's friend rather than Mommy's boss, spending weekends with us at museums and parks. I spoke with Sophia on video calls, building a tentative friendship with this solemn child who so resembled her father. For 3 months, we lived in this beautiful, fragile bubble, knowing it couldn't last but unwilling to let it go. The end came from an unexpected direction. Not from office gossip or board interference, but from Alexander himself. I've been offered a position in Paris, he told me one night as we lay tangled together in the darkness. CEO of an international conglomerate. Triple the salary. And Sophia, I finished for him, understanding immediately. I'd be 10 minutes from her school. I could see her every week, not twice a year. His arms tightened around me. But it would mean leaving New York. Leaving Blackwood Enterprises. Leaving me. The words remained unspoken but hung heavy between us. You have to take it, I said, my heart breaking even as I spoke. Alexander, you know you have to. Come with me, he said suddenly, propping himself up to look into my eyes. You and Lily. Come to Paris. The offer stole my breath. What? I love you, Emma. I love Lily. I want us to be a family, you, me, Lily, Sophia. We could make it work in Paris. Alexander, I can't just uproot Lily's life. Her school, her friends, everything she knows. I know it's asking a lot. But I'm asking anyway. His eyes held mine, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen before. Because I can't imagine my life without you in it anymore. I wanted to say yes. God, how I wanted it. But love isn't just about what you want, it's about what's right for everyone involved. I need time, I whispered. To think about what's best for Lily. He nodded, pressing a kiss to my forehead. Take all the time you need. I won't accept the offer until you decide. For 2 weeks, I agonized over the decision. I made pro and con lists. I researched international schools in Paris. I even took Lily to a French children's movie to gauge her interest in the language. But in my heart, I knew what I had to do. On a rainy Tuesday evening, I went to Alexander's apartment to give him my answer. He opened the door with a smile that faded when he saw my expression. You're not coming, he said quietly. I shook my head, tears spilling down my cheeks. I can't, Alexander. Lily's whole support system is here, my parents, her friends, the school that's been so good for her. I can't take her away from everything stable in her life, even for me, he finished. And you can't turn down this opportunity. Sophia needs you. This is your chance to be the father you want to be. He pulled me into his arms then, holding me as we both cried for what might have been. I'll wait, he whispered fiercely. I'll take the position for a year, see if it works with Sophia, and then we can reevaluate. You could visit during school breaks. We could try long distance. Lily clung to his leg, her small face crumpled in confusion. Why can't we go with Alexander, Mommy? I want to see the Eiffel Tower with him and Sophia. Alexander knelt down, gently taking Lily's hands in his. Hey, little one. Remember what we talked about? I need to be close to Sophia right now, just like your mom needs to be here for you. But this isn't goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. Promise? Lily asked, her bottom lip trembling. I promise, he said, pulling a small box from his pocket. This is for you. It's a special phone that can call me anytime, anywhere. Even in Paris. As Lily examined her new child-friendly smartphone with wonder, Alexander stood and faced me. The terminal announcement called his flight, and suddenly there was no more time. I love you, he said simply, his voice rough with emotion. That won't change with distance. I love you too, I whispered, memorizing every line of his face. Take care of Sophia. Be the father she needs. Our last kiss was brief, bittersweet, filled with all the words we couldn't say. Then he was walking away, his tall figure receding through the terminal doors, taking a piece of my heart with him. Life continued. I was promoted to operations manager at Blackwood Enterprises under the new CEO. Lily thrived in school. Alexander and I spoke weekly at first, then monthly, our conversations gradually becoming more about our children and less about us. I dated occasionally, at my friend's insistence, but no one ever made me feel what Alexander had. A year passed. Then two. On a crisp autumn morning, I was walking Lily to school when my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Miss Chen? This is Marguerite, Mr. Blackwood's assistant in Paris. There's been an accident. My world stopped spinning. Alexander had been in a car crash. Nothing life-threatening, Marguerite assured me, but he was hospitalized with a broken leg and concussion. Sophia was staying with her mother, who was, Marguerite's voice turned frosty, not particularly concerned about Mr. Blackwood's recovery. I made my decision in that moment. Please tell him we're coming. Lily and I will be on the next flight to Paris. 24 hours later, I stood in the doorway of a private hospital room, watching Alexander sleep. He looked older, a few strands of silver threading through his dark hair, new lines around his eyes. But he was still the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. Lily had no such hesitation. She ran to his bedside, her voice piercing the quiet. Alexander. We came to take care of you. His eyes flew open, disbelieving. Emma? Lily? Am I dreaming? If you are, we're having the same dream, I said, moving to his side. His hand found mine, gripping it like a lifeline. You came. Of course we came. You needed us. What was meant to be a week-long visit stretched into 2, then 3. Sophia joined us for dinners at Alexander's apartment, her initial shyness giving way to genuine affection for Lily and cautious warmth toward me. I watched the relationship between father and daughter with joy. They had inside jokes now, comfortable silences, the easy understanding that comes from regular presence in each other's lives. As Alexander's recovery progressed, the inevitable question loomed larger. When would Lily and I return to New York? The answer came unexpectedly, from Lily herself. Mommy, she said one evening as I tucked her into bed in the guest room of Alexander's apartment. Can we stay in Paris? I like it here with Alexander and Sophia. And you smile more. That night, Alexander and I talked until dawn. About possibilities and practicalities. About what we wanted and what our children needed. About the life we might build together, if we were brave enough to try. I have a confession, Alexander said as the first light of morning filtered through the windows. I've been offered a position back in New York. Running a new international division of Blackwood Enterprises. I'd still travel to Paris regularly for Sophia, but you'd be based in New York, I finished, hope blooming in my chest. I didn't want to tell you until I knew what you wanted. If you and Lily are happy here in Paris, I'll turn it down. If you want to go home to New York, I'll accept it. Emma, I just want us to be together. The where doesn't matter to me anymore. In the end, we chose New York. with a carefully crafted arrangement that brought Sophia to us for school holidays and took Alexander to Paris monthly. It wasn't perfect, blending families never is, but it was ours. 6 months after my impromptu trip to Paris, Alexander proposed on the rooftop garden of Blackwood Enterprises, the place where we'd first acknowledged our feelings for each other. Lily and Sophia stood nearby, giggling conspirators in his plan, holding signs that read, "Say yes, Mommy," and "We want to be sisters." Our wedding was small, intimate, attended by those who had supported us through the long journey to find each other. My parents, who had come to adore Alexander despite their initial misgivings. His mother, elegant and warm, who treated Lily like a beloved granddaughter from the first meeting. Sophia's mother, who had gradually accepted that her daughter's happiness included her father and his new family. Life isn't a fairy tale. Alexander still works too much sometimes. I still worry about balancing career and motherhood. We argue about schedules and parenting styles and whose turn it is to empty the dishwasher. Sophia still struggles occasionally with sharing her father. Lily still has moments of insecurity about her place in our blended family. But every night, I fall asleep in the arms of a man who crossed oceans to find his way back to me. Every morning, I wake to the sound of children's laughter echoing through our home. And every day, I'm grateful for the courage it took us both to fight for this love that once seemed so impossible. Sometimes the most beautiful journeys begin with the words, "We can't." Sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones that overcome every obstacle. And sometimes, falling for your strict billionaire boss turns out to be the best decision you never meant to make. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more tales of love that defy the odds. Remember, the greatest risks often lead to the greatest rewards, in fiction and in life. Thank you for joining Emma and Alexander on their journey, and I'll see you in the next video.